All right, so today we're going to be talking about properties and changes of matter. So remember, we talked about in the previous chapters what matter is, and then we talked about some examples of matter and its different phases, right? Solids, liquids, and gases. But now let's talk about some of those properties and then what happens when they change, right? So examples of physical properties of matter are just things that you can observe and that you can measure without changing the chemical identity of the sample. So let's think of like water, right? Water, the chemical identity of water is like H2O. So physical properties, again, are things that you'll observe that don't change that identity, right? So like the color. Color is an example of a physical property. It's something that you can just observe, right? You don't have to change anything about the substance. It's just a certain color. The length of something, same thing, right? You're not really looking at any chemical identity or anything like what it's made of. You're just looking at how long something is. Same thing with volume, right? How much space something takes up. And then opacity is just like basically how much something is see through, right? So if it is very opaque, then you really can't see through it. If it's less opaque, then you can see through it. Kind of like a window is opaque, right? It has a lot of opacity. And then chemical properties you see here are observed and measured as the sample changes chemical identity, right? So this is basically it is changing from one certain substance like H2O into something else like I'm just going to make something up like H2O2. Right? It's no longer the same thing. It's no longer water. H2O2 is actually hydrogen peroxide, which you can put on your cuts or things like that. So again, chemical properties. Some examples of that are like acidity. So like acid is the property of acid is if you pour some like hydrochloric acid on yourself, it's going to eat away at your skin because it is because of the acidity, right? Reactivity is just basically how quickly something reacts with something else. And we saw an example the other day of like a slide with if you put a little drop of sodium into the and actually let me show you that right now.